On today's episode of the Pat McAfee Show, Cody Rhodes teased a future WWE feud with AEW star MJF, calling him, quote, my boy. We have to get into that. Plus, he teased a potential title shot for Pat McAfee himself. There is a lot, all that plus more coming up on this episode of Wrestle Digest. But before we get into all that, just a quick reminder, 97% of the viewers watching this video haven't hit that subscribe button. We got daily wrestling content, and if you want a new home for that, this is the spot to be. Hit the button down below. Casey, we're going to start this video by talking about Cody revealing some of the details on his next feud. There was a lot of stuff said on his appearance on the Pat McAfee Show today, but we're going to start with one of the simpler ones. There's some more interesting stuff coming up later, but of course, during this, they asked him, hey, who is going to be this next feud? Who is next? What is next? And the crowd started chanting RKO, RKO. Cody couldn't help but smile, start laughing. Could Randy be one of these guys? Well, maybe, but Cody basically said, hey, not to kick the can down the road, but you're going to want to tune in to Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and just maybe you'll get an idea of who might be coming next. Casey, I can't tell you how excited I am to see where they go from here. Of course, there's going to be that little period where you're just like, wow, Cody is champion. This is amazing. You bask in the glory that is Cody Rhodes. But hey, eventually they need to flip that switch and see who's going to challenge him next, and that could come as soon as Monday night. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any ideas of who might that first feud be?
Yeah, it kind of seems to me that they're maybe leading into the Seth Rollins angle here. We've seen the handshake post-match. Obviously, like you said, there's going to be a grace period here where everybody's so excited that Cody's champion before we kind of get to see that feud unfold, in my opinion. But I think that Triple H kind of maybe dropped an inkling here with that handshake post-match with Seth Rollins.
Yeah, you know what? That was going to be my thought too, because, Seth and Cody. Seth looked so devastated after losing his World Heavyweight title, looking at Drew McIntyre as he's going back up the ramp, and then after that match, that handshake, just looking at each other. Seth was Cody's shield. And honestly, Casey, I can't think of a whole lot of people that are more deserving at a title shot against Cody Rhodes than maybe Seth Rollins. Of course, they have both shown that they are two of the biggest stars in this industry, two of the guys that elicit some of the biggest crowd reactions, of course, other than Roman Reigns, The Rock, Bloodline members. Maybe that'll get pushed aside, maybe it won't. I don't see them going for any kind of rematch or anything anytime soon. The only other guy that I'm thinking that could enter this picture, just want to get your quick thoughts before we move on, is Gunther. Now, I feel like in my head, he feels like a World Heavyweight Championship feud kind of guy. I cannot explain why I feel that way, but it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of jumped right into this feud. He deserves a World Championship shot at some point very soon. Of course, Bash at Berlin is coming up in August. What do you think about Gunther maybe sliding his way in here? I mean, he doesn't have too much of a history with these guys yet, but there's lots of story building that could be done.
Yeah, I love the Ring General,
Yes.
Gunther. I love it. I think that he deserves this shot more than anybody in the industry right now. He just coming off a 666-day reign as IC champion, showing he can be a great wrestler, great on the mic, a great leader of a faction in Imperium. I think he's done everything right over this past couple of years that he deserves a shot at this title. I really like that pick, but there is another way that I think we could see this unfold as well. I think maybe we could see The Rock versus Cody. I think maybe getting that one-on-one match after, all the big feud they just went through and stuff like that. Obviously, it was building up the Roman bloodline type of feud for
Yeah.
WrestleMania. But I do think that with The Rock and Cody, kind of was its own separate feud in a way that they could maybe clue this up with a title shot for The Rock.
That could definitely happen. I guess it all depends on The Rock's Hollywood schedule, like a lot of his recent career has, but wouldn't shock me to see that kind of match coming up. It's something like a SummerSlam coming up later in Cleveland later this summer. But hey, there's another guy that no one would have predicted that might just get the title shot, and that is Pat McAfee. And no, I'm not joking. Well, I might be joking a little bit, but again, on this appearance, Cody Rhodes said directly to Pat McAfee, like, hey, I was ready to give you this shot, and here's the exact quote. Quote, I was ready in the pocket. This is before WrestleMania, of course. He was talking to Pat before the weekend. So I was ready in the pocket to say, Pat, if I win that title on Sunday, maybe we can wrestle for it. That's Cody talking to Pat McAfee. Casey, this is kind of a ridiculous thing. This is never going to be any type of PLE match. We know Pat McAfee. I'm sure he could hold his own in a very quick match. He can take some bumps. I mean, we've seen him do a little bit here and there. Of course, that Rumble spot, which was not really a spot. But, I'm sure he could do something. He's an athletic guy. He's been around the industry. Do you see this ever actually materializing, even if it's just a little short TV match someday on Raw? Because it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard, though I feel like this is not going to be the first thing they lead into with Cody's championship reign.
Yeah, this is something very interesting to me. Obviously, Pat McAfee is 1-0 at WrestleMania. I mean, he
Yeah,
beat
true.
Austin Theory just a couple of years ago. So, I mean, he's shown that he can beat a pro wrestler in the ring. Can he beat the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes? 100% not. I think Cody's just a different beast.
Mhm.
Could I see this as a one-off match, maybe on a open title challenge? Maybe we could see that reopened. Maybe Cody puts out issues an open title match. Maybe Pat McAfee takes off the headset, gets in the ring, and we see it on Raw. That could definitely happen. But if you had to ask me, if I had to put some money on Pat McAfee getting a title shot, it's just not happening.
No, I mean I don't think so either, but it is fun to speculate because like we've seen in these press conferences after WrestleMania, it feels like no one truly knows what direction the WWE and Triple H himself are going. Like you don't know what kind of title run this is going to be from Cody. And while Roman's run, he was so like that aura of just like when he shows up, it is the most important thing in the world. Are they going to do something like that with Cody? No, he's going to be one of those guys who's there every single week. He was working 2 shows a week for like a lot of the lead up to WrestleMania. And we had Seth Rollins, who was that workhorse champion as well. But then you have some people saying, well, adding that allure to it, right? In other sports, you fight once a year for that championship trophy. So that's what makes it special. But if you have a guy out there on doing TV matches every other week, given title shots, does that lower the prestige of the title? Before we get into the final segment of the video, Casey, I wanted to know your opinion on that. Do you think if you have Rhodes and now I guess Damian Priest going out and having these world title matches almost weekly or on a bi-weekly basis, do you think that devalues the title? Or do you think this is just something that maybe WWE is going to test out in this new Renaissance era?
I mean, I think personally, I mean, we grew up watching, the old, Batista
Hmm.
Edge era, and they used to have title matches, steel cage title matches on SmackDown, on Raw. So I think making the champion a fighting champion again is the direction that the WWE needs to go in. I don't think that it devalues the championship because obviously it's still the undisputed WWE champion. It's obviously the best title, in my opinion, to have in the WWE. So making it a fighting championship again, I think this is the great direction to go in because, like I said, the era we grew up in, this title was being defended like every week, every
Hmm.
second week in the main event. So I think this is where Triple H kind of wants to go back because he came up through that era,
True.
and I think he has some knowledge there that maybe if the title's being defended every second week, every third week, the ratings are just going to go up.
Yeah, that's true. They're going to pack people into the buildings. It's going to be very interesting. What do you guys think? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Workhorse champion versus Roman Reigns style, prestigious champion where you only get an opportunity a couple times a year. We'd love to hear from you. Final thing though, Casey, and we're talking about another guy that might eventually get a shot against Cody. And that is MJF. Yes, MJF from AEW. Now, we know Cody has quite the history with AEW. He knows MJF very well. And in this interview on the Pat McAfee show, Cody Rhodes, hey, well, the crowd started chanting MJF, MJF when they were discussing who might get a title shot. And Cody was laughing, saying, hey, yeah, I got a lot of history there. But he said, MJF is my boy. Now, again, that on its own is not necessarily anything. It's not necessarily a hint that MJF could come to WWE. But again, his contract status is still, well, officially up in the air. Now, while there's a lot of speculation that he has re-signed, of course, with the recent trademark in the last month or so from AEW, trademarking AEW Dynasty, well, it just makes sense, since MJF was part of the Dynasty before, that would be a future paid live event or pay-per-view where MJF makes his return from this injury after losing the belt. There's some speculation as well. This is from an article about a week ago, talking about he's not currently listed under the AEW roster, but it's been confirmed that he was in Boston, Massachusetts after Dynamite Big Business was held there on March 13th, of course, when Mercedes Moné came out, all this stuff. But then, of course, they say if he returns, he's probably going to go back to his feud with Adam Cole, who's still recovering as well. And Cole added insult to injury following MJF's loss to Joe, revealing himself as the devil. There's a lot of stuff going on over in AEW, KC, but look, MJF, he's probably re-signed. But if he's not, even if he does resign, we don't know the length of these contracts, right? Do you see a world where we get a Cody MJF feud over the next year, 2, 3 years? And what do you think that looks like?
I mean, obviously, I got the scarves out today for MJF. I think this guy is a top 15 wrestler in the entire world. I am so big on MJF. I think he is the best heel in the wrestling business. You can
Ooh.
rip me apart in the comments if you want, but he is. He is the best heel. He became babyface at one point, and what did he do? Excel at that as well. He can excel at both sides of the coin. So I think this guy is, as Michael Cole or Corey Graves would say, the hottest free agent
Oh,
in
yes.
wrestling right now. And I think we would be stupid to think that Paul Levesque, Triple H is not reaching out to this guy to try to get him to WWE. So to answer your question, could I see a Cody MJF feud in the WWE? Definitely, 100%. I could definitely see this happening. And you never know, it's Raw after Mania tonight. Could
Ooh.
we see MJF come out tonight? Could we see the scarves flying on Raw after Mania? I really hope, because I think this guy deserves to be in the best wrestling business on earth, the WWE. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I think he should come to WWE. I really hope he does.
Oh, give me chills. That just hyped me up more than anything. And again, like, as much as I really don't think this is gonna happen, you gotta have some hope. And even if it doesn't happen in the Raw after Mania, even if it doesn't happen in 2024, 2025, we don't know where this roller coaster of WWE is going. And especially with CM Punk in the company now, like, you can add another layer to this, right? Shout out to the ring, right? MJF versus CM Punk. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of ways you can go. Not just MJF and Cody Rhodes, but CM Punk and whoever's in that picture at that point. If MJF is not re-signed with AEW again, the dirt sheets, all this stuff indicate that he probably is, but nothing's official until it's actually made official. Don't forget all the people that said CM Punk would never come back to WWE Survivor Series. Even the morning of the PLE, people thought he wouldn't be returning. So you never know. That's what we're going to say here. We'll leave it at that. Cody and MJF, I'm sure Cody would love that. I'm sure Maxwell would love that as well. But what do you guys think? Down below, let us know. This is just a crazy thing. Fantasy book it for us if you want. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Wrestle Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the Wrestle Digest channel for daily wrestling updates. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, for my co-host, KC. We'll catch you in the next one.